What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar moving forward and other factors like that. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total. And the offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, as far as the market's going, SPY is trying to break this resistance right over here. But we have another one to watch for at 602. If we break the 602 range, we're going to be looking for an attempt to get back up to 604. Eventually, the gap will back up to about 608. If we reject here, we're looking for support at 598. If that fails us, we're looking for a move back down to 595. I'll talk more about these levels in just a few minutes, but I want to break down some data. So today is Tuesday, and just know that 30 minutes after the stock market opens at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have consumer confidence data and more data from the Richmond Fed. The Richmond Fed are going to be giving us information about manufacturing shipments, services revenues, then other pieces of data like that. So I'd anticipate some volatility at that time when the data comes out. We'll see if this launches the market higher or not. Hopefully, it's the upside looking at the current trends. Now, as far as the market's been going, we got this big sell-off after the news that came out involving DeepSeek. They did a very, very good job at developing a new AI. They did use other models to develop it, but you have to give them credit where it's due. And simultaneously, that led to a lot of fears about the US's dominance. We don't know the full details about it, however, about how much it really costs to develop it and other factors like that. So they had different models that they used to compete with other AIs that the US has developed, such as like ChatGPT and etc. So the fear about the US dominance in the AI sector being like mitigated led to a lot of selling pressure in the markets from yesterday. So you could argue that the move was exaggerated. The market dumped too hard, as we saw Nvidia lose more than $500+ billion of its net valuation. And we are ready for a rebound if we could try to base. And I think there's a good chance that that's what's happening so far. So that's pretty wild, at least thus far. For the way that the road is going, at least for the markets, don't forget that for Wednesdays when we have FOMC, and then we have like big earnings coming out later on. Big tech earnings start tomorrow after close, so get ready for that. Today, we just had Boeing and GM announce earnings. So just real quick, GM did relatively well. We saw their full year net income. This is the one that came out for shareholders of about $6 billion. Not bad whatsoever. For the fourth quarter, not bad as well. So I think that we saw some nice growth overall. For their final 2024 numbers, we're looking for the results of about $6 billion for the net income. We also saw about the EPS diluted adjusted about $10.60. That's the adjusted EPS, so not bad for 2024. Their guidance was a little bit stronger, so they had stronger guidance for 2025, which is, I think, more positive for the share price. That's why we saw some more buyers who were coming in. Boeing, on the other hand, reported about $11.8 billion annual loss after the crises that were going on this year. We saw them just continue to burn cash of about $4.1 billion. There's actually a chart that shows it right here, so you guys can see their net losses are just continuing to be huge. We're hoping that they improve their designs. They've been talking about that. They're still working on those, and that could help improve things and hopefully get them, in a better position. But I don't think they're even close to profitability. It's going to take a while for them to get there, and it's been very, very tough for them ever since the pandemic. So just wanted to call that out. Anyways, going back, what do I see for the market moving forward? It's very simple. If SPY tries to push past 602, we're going to be looking for 604, and then eventually this gap fills our targets. If we can't break that, we're looking at support at 598. If that 598 area fails us, we're looking for a dip back down towards like 595 or below. So it could go either way, so we'll see what happens. But I personally favor that this could be, favoring upside a little bit more. If we break 602 especially, it's going to be a very, very good sign. As far as the QQQ goes, we're trying to hold right here. We have to see if we could hold above our 200 EMA at 514. There's a little bit of a wick forming here, so what typically happens is you dip a bit, but hopefully we do get some kind of like rebound. If we break 518, we're looking for the 520s. And if we end up losing this support at 512, we're looking for move all the way back down towards like 508. And if that fails us, we could be dipping even lower, all the way down to these much lower levels, to the low 500s. But for now, I'm going to be watching to see if we could hold 514, that's going to be very, very key at the 200 EMA. Might be a small dip before it attempts to bounce. We do have a giant gap to fill above. If buyers return after we get this little dip here, can we push back above 518? I'll be watching that very closely. It depends on some data that's coming out, so we'll be waiting for the Richmond Fed manufacturing numbers, and we'll see what happens after that. For the Russell 2000, we're just range bound between 227 and 225. I think we're going to likely just shuffle for now. It's been like this for quite a while. So it's going to likely continue to shuffle in this range. I'm not really expecting too much volatility. ES looks a little bit more bullish. We have this gap to fill above here. If we break 67, I'm looking for an attempt for 6100. If we lose 6025, we're looking for a dump back down to 6000 and eventually 5980. This is favoring upside a bit more to try to push into the 6100s, so we'll see if that ends up being the case or not. But just be very patient. If we break 21,400, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to 21,500s. If we end up losing support right here at 21,200, we're looking for a dump back down to where this blue trend line happens to be. That is our previous resistance becoming support, so I think there's a good chance we might actually be dipping back here. Then we'll see what happens at least from this point on. For Bitcoin, we're actually making a lower high right here. We have to see if we can reclaim 102,968. If not, there might be a small dip to 101,000. We'll see if we get a bounce after that. So look for some downside. I just want to mention that Nvidia, it's trying to base. This is a good sign for the markets. Let's see if we could hold 117 to 120. If we can't hold this will dip to like 114 and 110. What I'm hoping is that we hold this. I want to see this hold. If we could hold this support here, then yes, we could be looking for like a rebound, but we'll see if we hold this or not. If that holds, that's going to be a good sign for the markets. Tesla loves to pump and dump. It pumped and dumped the last 4 days. So for today, might be a little pump into like the low 400s, a dip back down, and some consolidation heading into earnings. I think Tesla might be a little tight. It might be a little pump and then dump with lots of sideways price action because we love to do that approaching earnings. And also, we love to do that approaching FOMC. So, we have all of that coming out for tomorrow. That's going to cause a much bigger moves. Just keep that in mind. As far as Aapl goes, we're fighting at 230. That's going to be our 50 EMA on the 4-hour time frame. If we break 230, we're looking for a bigger push for essentially the 235s or above. If we reject here, we're looking for a move back down. So I think we could be retesting 228. We'll see if we break out on Aapl or not. It's going to be a tough resistance. It's going to be fighting at 230. For now, it is technically a little bit more bullish. If you can make like a higher low here, and we just start continuing to push, there is most definitely potential in this. For a few more tickers, we have coin at a bit of a downtrend. We could be approaching 274 as our support. If that fails us, we could be dipping towards like 268. If we break past 282, we're looking for a bounce for 287. My guts tells me coin could be dipping a little bit lower. It might be a small test of 274 this morning, and we'll see if we bounce off of this. As of right now, we're range bound between 274 and 282, so I think I might just shuffle for now. Amazon's also in a range between 233 and 235. If 233 fails us, we're looking for 230. And if 235 breaks, we turn bullish. We're in a range right now. I think we might dip a bit before we see some consolidation. And we'll see what the big reaction happens to be, so just keep that in mind. Meta is looking more bullish. We're currently at 667 almost. If that breaks, we're looking for the 670s. If we end up losing 660, we could turn back down, but I think this is favoring upside for now. For Microsoft, I like the setup, but I want to see it break past 436 and then 440 to really start pushing for that gap fill near 444. If we end up losing 432, we could be dipping to 430. Might be a small test of about 432, and we'll see if we get that bounce or not to fill that gap. It's in the middle right now, so it needs some time to develop. Google is showing some life. Looks like it wants to be pushing for like 196, but then we'll see if we break resistance at 198 to fill this gap. If not, we could be dipping lower. I also want to mention that the VIX has this big gap to fill below, so we're watching to see, are we going to see an interesting move where the VIX comes down to fill its gap, whereas the market, continues to push to its gap above? It could happen, but we have to watch our key levels and also the data that's coming out. So as a final reminder, okay, we have some data coming out from the Richmond Fed. These manufacturing numbers may cause some volatility. So for those who are interested, get ready for a big move that's coming to the broader markets, and we'll see what this leads to at least moving forward. So that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Get ready for some data that could cause more volatility at 10 a.m. today, 30 minutes after the market opens. And besides that, we're going to be very, very patient with these charts. SPY of all things is looking a bit more promising, so I do hope for the best, and we'll see how things end up going. Anyways, thank you for listening, guys. Have a good rest of your day, and peace out.